Okay, so I guess what I want to do today is tell you the story of three women who I met earlier this year. I went to the Northern Territory where I was listening to women and documenting women's experiences of income management and the basics card. And the reason why I wanted to do that was to understand their experience so that we can have a better idea of what women might experience when this comes to Playford near Whyalla next year. And there's a few other areas around Australia where that's going to happen as well. So this is one of the rooms where I was listening to a woman, and you can see my iPad in the corner there. Can't go anywhere without it, obviously. So the woman that I was listening to in this room, I was asking her about the exemption process for income management. How do you get off income management and just get paid cash in your bank again? And she knew exactly what I was talking about, and she talked about these complex processes that she had to go through. But she was willing to go through them, and it took her a month of going through the paperwork and filling in forms, and but she was willing to do it because she felt very strongly that this was not for her. I asked her about it, and she said that, I'm not an Aboriginal woman. I don't live in a remote community. This is not meant for me. And so she was willing to work with that. And what she said to me was, you've got to play the game. She understood how this system worked. She understood who she needed to talk to, what forms she needed to fill in. Now, we also went and listened to women in Alice Springs, and I went there with my co-researcher, Jo Wilmot, who's an Aboriginal woman in Adelaide. And I learned a lot from just being with Jo and listening to her and watching what she was doing. And one of the things that I needed to learn was to talk to women and ask questions in their everyday language and to listen to them on their terms and give them space to talk about what was important to them. And so the woman that we were listening to here in Alice Springs, this particular woman, we asked her about the exemption process for income management. And she really didn't know how this was all going to work. She knew that she didn't want to be on income management, but she hadn't even asked for an exemption because she didn't know how that process worked, and she just assumed that if she tried it, she wasn't going to be successful. And when she had talked to Centrelink about it, they'd encouraged her to stay on income management. So she'd basically not even asked for that exemption. And I also listened to women who had refugee background, and they were from a whole range of places: Nepal, Burma, Somalia, a whole lot of places. And one of the women that I was listening to in Darwin who had a refugee background, she'd lived in that camp there in Kenya. She'd escaped from war in her home country and she'd gone to Kenya, and then she'd come to Australia, and what she was hoping for was that she could start a new life here where her children would have dignity and security and safety. And so what she was doing was she was living in a house in the suburbs in Darwin, and she was going to the markets on the weekend buying fruit and veg, and the kids had joined the local soccer club, and her husband had started English classes so that hopefully he could get a job once he could speak the language, and this was all going okay. And then she started income management, and her language about it was slightly different. So they don't talk about income management or basics card. She was talking about the green card, because that's the physical card that you use to pay for your goods and services when you're on income management is green. So she's talking about this green card. And the problem with this green card was, for her, she couldn't use that card at the fruit and veggie market on Sunday or the cheap halal butcher. She had to go to Coles and Woolies. And the things that she wanted to buy were more expensive in those supermarkets. So she didn't have as much that she could spend. And the things weren't working the way that they were supposed to. So things like her power bills and her rent that were supposed to come out of her income managed funds, it wasn't working, and there wasn't enough cash left to pay for things, so the kids couldn't go to soccer anymore. And she was telling me that some of her friends, they'd actually moved to Melbourne to avoid all of this income management stuff that was going on. And she said to me, how far do I have to run from this? Because she's already been to 3 different countries to try and find dignity and security. And so I asked her about the exemption process. Have you asked for an exemption from income management if it's not working for you? She actually didn't know what I meant. And when you think about it, if you've never been involved in a welfare system before, if you're getting all these letters sent to you in a language that you can't read, how would you know that an exemption exists and then ask for it? And so all these 3 women that I was listening to, from different cultural backgrounds with vastly different life experience, they were all carers for people. They were raising children, they were looking after the elderly and disabled, trying to do the best they could for their family. But they had different knowledge of the system that they were working within and different access to resources. And so what the key was for them was understanding the system that they were working within. So one woman who understood the system and knew how it worked and felt a sense of entitlement that no, you should be able to get her out of that system, she was actually willing to fight for her exemption. Another woman who, yes, she knows that what the system is, and doesn't want to be part of it, but she doesn't know how to navigate her way through it and doesn't feel that she's going to be, listened to if she tries. She's not fighting. And the third woman that I was telling you about, she just wanted to get away from it all. She didn't even know that there was a way out. She just wanted to get out. So it was fight or flight or do nothing. And that's what happens to these women who are on the edges of mainstream Australian society. And so they need that knowledge of the system, how it works, who they can ask, and without feeling that they're respected by the organisations that they have to deal with. Why would they try? So of all the questions that we asked and all the statistics that we recorded during our research, and there was a lot of stuff that we recorded and a lot of women that we listened to, what really stood out for these women across all their different backgrounds and their different experiences was a feeling of a lack of respect. So 85% of the women that we listened to, they said that they don't feel respected when they have to go into the Centrelink office. And that's a pretty high number. I mean, I know no one actually enjoys going in there, but 85% is quite high. 84% of them said that they don't want to tell Centrelink if they're having a problem. And that really worried us because that could be a problem paying a power bill, it could be a problem with a family relationship, it could be a problem with their rent or, there's a whole lot of different problems people have. And we want people to know that there are a lot of places that they can go and ask for help. So when women are saying that there's somewhere they can't go, that's supposed to be a place they can go to help, that worries us. The other problem was that 74% of the women said that they feel people aren't as nice to them when they see them pull out their basics card to pay for things in their shop. And that really worries us as well. So if we want an inclusive society, if we want a society where women can get help when they need it, and where people have the confidence and the skills to work towards the life that they're trying to build for themselves, then what we need to do is start listening to these women, really listening to their stories and their experience and understanding what it means for them. Thank you.